I'm Lisa Federico, and this is Inside Northwest Columbus. After spending decades in corporate marketing, I traded boardrooms for backyards because the best stories are happening right here at home. Every week, you'll meet entrepreneurs, creatives, and everyday neighbors doing extraordinary things across Worthington and Northwest Columbus. So let's jump into this week's conversation. Welcome to Inside Northwest Columbus. I'm your host, Lisa Federico, and today we are diving into a topic that is always in style, your home. Joining me is Monica Lewis. She is the president and co-owner of J.S. Brown & Company, Central Ohio's only NARI accredited design remodeler. And Monica isn't just an expert. She is also a mentor for women in construction. And she's a passionate advocate for smart, lifestyle-driven home renovations. By the end of this episode, you'll leave equipped to make smarter design decisions, avoid remodeling pitfalls, and learn how to maximize your budget. But more importantly, you'll learn how renovating should reflect your true personal style and not just what's popular online. Welcome, Monica.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here, too. And I just want to thank you. You have been always such a big supporter of me and all of my projects. And I'm so grateful. And I'm just so grateful that you're on the podcast.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And I want to share with all of you how Monica and I met. Because for anyone who says that cold calling doesn't work, I am here to tell you, you are dead wrong. I called Monica and I said, Monica, I'm starting a podcast or I'm starting a magazine. And Monica was like, hey, come on in, let's talk. I was totally blown away. It made everything and my whole journey just so much more enjoyable. Aww. And to this day, I always talk about how Monica kind of paved the way for the success that I've had. And again, I'm just so grateful. Oh. I want to ask you, because we talked about how you're the only NARI accredited design remodeler in Central Ohio. For all of our listeners, what is NARI and why is it so important that you are NARI accredited?
Okay, so NARI is the National Association of the Remodeling Industry. And there's the big national group, right, that heads up lots of educational opportunities and professionalism in the industry and all sorts of great efforts towards that. And one of those is the Accredited Remodeling Company accreditation. And it's a pretty long process. And why it was important for us as a company is that it helps us go through and check all the boxes. So NARI says, look, if you are a solid remodeling company, right, you're going to have a process for sales. You're going to have a process for production. You're going to have a process for warranty. And how do you handle your financials? And what are your reserves? And what is your contract like? And what is your marketing plan? That you're going to have all of these things lined up, right? And it helps you as a company owner to go in and look at the processes from a fresh set of eyes and say, am I really doing this right? Do I have my ducks in a row? So it's helpful for an owner, but what it means for a consumer is that you're not relying on the person in front of you saying, no, we got it together. We know what we're doing. You've got an independent professional organization, and they hire independent third-party assessors to look at all of our documentation and say, yes, they're financially responsible. They have good processes. They follow all of the recommended guidelines that NARI has for a good remodeling company.
And at the end of the day, I would imagine that those guidelines also translate into a great customer experience. So if you're doing these things, right, then ideally your customer should have the very best experience.
Right. It helps all the things behind the scenes that a consumer doesn't necessarily look for. No client has ever asked me, do you pay your bills on time?
Right.
But if we didn't, orders would be delayed.
Right.
We couldn't maybe get material from the supply. I mean, there's all kinds of things. There could be liens on your property if we didn't pay our bills on time. So there's lots of things in there that are good, that are behind the scenes, that help ensure that your project has the best chance of being successful.
Yeah. Both of us come from male-dominated industries. I spent 30 years in corporate marketing, mostly in manufacturing and distribution. And 30 years ago, we didn't have the support right, for being able to deal with a male-dominated industry.
Mhm.
You've talked about that several times,
Yeah.
about your background. And I'm interested to learn more about how you elevate women in construction and why that's so important to you.
Well, I think it's really just a matter of introducing some ideas to the industry at large that they're maybe not aware of. I've had, luckily, a very good experience being in a male-dominated field. My issues, if you want to call them that, have been few and far between, and have been more likely dealing with a client or somebody else than my boss
Right.
or a coworker or something like that. But when you've been in the business 30 plus years, you've heard everything, and you know the companies that maybe aren't friendly to having more women in the workplace. And we're seeing more and more and more, not just women in the office, not just women selling remodeling or women designing remodeling or selling the products or being on a job site in that capacity, but actually doing the work, right? They're actually there swinging a hammer, using a paintbrush, wiring a light fixture or what have you. And I think that was probably the last barrier to be broken, and it's still going on. And it's important to me because our industry needs good, talented people. There's a dearth of it. We're short by hundreds of thousands nationwide. I mean, it's like a 500,000 person shortage
Wow.
in the trades. And we need every available and interested and talented type of person in our field. And I don't want anybody who wants to come into our field who has something to contribute to be frightened that they wouldn't be welcomed or that we don't need them or want them in our field. So it's really a way of trying to just encourage more women to join the ranks of remodeling and to be part of our industry, because I think it's a great industry.
Yeah.
And to help people who maybe want to do better and maybe don't understand why did she react this way, to say, well, here's how it made them feel, or here's how we could do better in the future. So I think we've come a long way. There's a lot of great things happening, and there's room for even more great things to come. So,
And are we seeing more women enter the industry?
we are.
Yeah.
We are.
Oh, that's great.
Locally, we've got lots of talented women, not just in what I call the office side of our industry, but in the field and doing work that's physical, technical, complicated work that are great at what they do. And I think we're starting to now see as an industry the possibility that brings to us when we don't limit our sites on just half the population.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally agree. The housing market in Columbus is quite challenging,
Yes,
right? We don't
always.
have a ton of inventory. The prices are astronomical. Everybody is asking themselves if they're thinking that they're outgrowing their home, should I sell or should I remodel?
Yeah.
And so with that, I want to ask you, how do homeowners, how can we help clarify for homeowners when the decision is right
Yes.
to sell? Because there's some homes, right, that maybe just it doesn't make sense
Sure.
to remodel, right?
It's not the answer for
How
everybody.
do we help homeowners determine what's the right path and when?
Okay, so the first thing when a client comes to me and they tell me they're on the horns of that dilemma, right? I don't know if I should move or if I should improve the house that I'm in. The first question I ask them is, how much do you love your location? It's the same thing that realtors talk about, location, location, location. Do your kids love this school system? Do you love your neighborhood? Do you like the proximity to the shopping and the pool and the health club and the whatever else that fills your
neighbors.
daily life and your neighbors, right? More clients than I can count have said, I don't want to move because I don't want to leave my neighbors, or I don't want to leave my street. We've got a relationship up and down the block and we don't want to go. So I can't remodel your neighborhood, unfortunately, So if you like where you are, that's the first question, because I can make your house into almost anything if budget permitting. It's really, do you love where you are? And if you do, then that's one check mark off. If your answer is, I could take it or leave it. Okay, well, now we have a lot more questions to answer, right? About finances and all of that other thing. So location is the first one. The financial implications are another. How much of this house do you hate versus love? If somebody's moved into some beautiful Clintonville bungalow and what they really love is a contemporary industrial loft.
That's a tough order.
Why why wreck this beautiful expression of a bungalow
Right.
to turn it into an urban industrial loft that still isn't going to be urban or a loft? I can give it vibes, but I can't turn it into that. And so making sure that the home you're in can suit you for what you're trying to turn it into is the next one. And then the last one is always cost and what are you willing to live through and pay for?
Right. And so starting obviously with a set budget in mind really helps the process.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah. Knowing what you're comfortable spending, knowing what is a good investment for you in terms of what your expectations are for the house after the remodeling is done. Those are two first questions we ask. What's a comfortable spend for you? Because that's going to help you rule in or rule out things right off the bat.
Yeah. I know that we read a lot that kitchens and baths, for example, provide your best return on investment. And, we've all heard horror stories about people who have over-improved and maybe not gotten the return on investment.
Yep.
But in general, right, are there other rooms or projects besides kitchen and baths where the ROI is surprisingly high or low?
Well, I'm going to start if I can. The ROI or the return on investment for remodeling, kitchens and baths are very high. And I will definitely say that they're the most popular projects we get asked to do for a number of reasons. But the Journal of Light Construction, which was formerly Remodeling Magazine, runs a report every year called the Cost versus Value Report. And what they do is they go to a bunch of cities, and luckily Columbus is one of them, and they have all of these hypothetical projects. And they'll tell you, in Columbus, the average investment for this kind of project is X number of dollars, and this is how much you can expect to recoup it, right? The top ones are surprising because they're not kitchens and baths.
Oh.
The top ones, as unsexy as it sounds, a new garage door.
Really?
You get almost twice as much back as for what you put into it. A new front entry door. But when you go to another report, which is what they call euphemistically the joy report, which is how happy are you after you've remodeled with this space? How much did it increase your happiness in the home? Kitchens and baths are right up near the top.
Yeah, the garage door is not at the top?
It's not at the top. It's in like the top 15, but it's not at the top. And so ROI is important because this is a big part of most homeowners' portfolio, right? This is one of their biggest investments for most people. So you want to be respectful of that, and you want to make sure that you're investing wisely in that property. But you also have to take into account that you live here. And how well do you live? What is your quality of life based on what you've done with the house? And so, yes, certainly the ROI is part of it, but how much are you investing based on what's going to make you happy and what's going to give you good quality of life for you and your family? That's an investment that I always think about. So yeah, kitchens and baths definitely the most popular. We see a lot of finished basements. Yeah. We see a lot of primary suite additions on the first floor so people can age in place. We're starting to see since COVID and a big move to work from home where people need that space. All these big open floor plans are lovely for communal living, but they're not great to be able to sit quietly and do work or have a phone meeting or something like that, a video conference with somebody. So having a space to work or learn from home is another big project that we see.
And I think this is a great time also to be able to say to all of our listeners that you are offering both the cost value report and the joy report.
Yeah.
For all of our listeners. Just look for the show notes in your app, your platform that you use to listen or watch this podcast.
We'll have the links right in there.
Yep, the links will be there. You can download. And for your first 5 people that respond, you're offering a 30-minute consultation.
Yes, happily do a phone consultation. We can
wonderful.
talk through generalities of a project that you have in mind or questions that you might have about remodeling in the process and all of that. Yeah.
Great, exciting. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
If you're enjoying today's episode, you won't want to miss what we've got coming up in October. Our next issue of Northwest Columbus City Lifestyle is all about food. We're featuring signature recipes straight from some of your favorite local restaurants right here in Northwest Columbus. Think of it as a taste of the neighborhood delivered to your inbox. And on the podcast, we're serving up fresh conversations with local chefs, makers, food entrepreneurs who are building community one plate at a time. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss a thing, and head to the link in the show notes for exciting offers or to sign up for digital issues of our magazine. Okay, so now it's time to spill some tea.
Okay.
Tell me about the biggest remodeling mistake you've made personally. I know we all have them.
We do all have them. And the first one that comes to mind, in my first home, I wanted to update my bathroom, my powder room, and didn't have a lot of money. It was my first house. And there were parts of it that I was super confident doing. I worked for a plumbing distributor at the time. And so replaced the toilet, replaced the sink, replaced the faucet. It was a DIY. I was very comfortable doing that. And my husband at the time replaced the light fixture for me. I was comfortable with the painting. But I thought I could do trim. And I have since found out that I can't do trim. And I spent, no kidding, this was a 3x7 bathroom. I spent the entire weekend putting up crown molding and redoing the baseboard. And it wasn't pretty. And thank goodness it was painted because I could use a lot of wood putty and kind of smooth some things over. And then I just realized, this is not something you should be doing. You're not going to get a good result. You're wasting your time. You're wasting your money. And the next time I needed trim, I hired one of the carpenters for the remodeling company I was working for at the time. He came in and did all the crown molding in 3 rooms, including my foyer, in less than a day.
Oh, my gosh.
And it was beautiful.
Yeah.
So lesson learned, I don't take on what you're not competent in because you're not going to be happy with the result and you're going to spend time and spend money that's a waste.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And along those lines, then, can you talk a little bit or provide some examples, maybe where common mistakes that homeowners have made or that they should avoid that might either negatively impact their return or just generally maybe don't have the satisfaction that you think they would have gotten?
Right. Well, there's a couple. The first one I'll say is that sometimes there's a rush to remodel that's inappropriate. The first thing a lot of new homeowners want to do is they want to remodel it right away, or we want to remodel this before we even move in and get all that done. And sometimes that works. Sometimes there's, you've got very specific needs for the home that they don't meet or what have you, or it's just out of date or unsafe even, depending on what it is you're tackling. But remodeling a home that you don't have a good understanding of, that you haven't lived in, I would say maybe even for an entire year, so that you know what it's like in the winter and the summer and the spring and the fall, and you feel how you live in the space, what rooms feel good to you and which ones don't and why. I think that really informs your decision-making when you're going into a large-scale remodel to understand how you live in the home. Yeah. So I think sometimes people rush either the decision-making or the process as a whole. We recommend taking your time and deciding and knowing what you're doing. The other thing is I have never, ever, ever had a client tell me I shouldn't have splurged on that thing I loved. I have often heard them say, I should have spent a little bit more and got that tile I really liked. And we try to have that conversation. It's a delicate balance. You want to advise the client. You want to be respectful of their budget. But you also want them to have what's really going to make them happy in the end and is going to serve them. And so we try to encourage and say, if you really love this, it's going to be worth it to you, and to work with those things. So I think it's a much, much, much more common mistake for people to underspend than over. And I've been in plenty of houses where the job was done cheaply, either because it was a flip or because they just didn't know any better, or they were just trying to be super conservative with their spend. And you've taken this beautiful, gorgeous house in this upscale neighborhood and you've cheapened it. And now you're going to get less for it than if you would have done nothing. And that's always a shame to see.
And two, I don't know that there's anybody who's ever said, gosh, I wish that this closet was smaller. I wish my master closet was a lot smaller. I shouldn't have gone so big.
Yeah.
There are certain things. I love that. There are certain things that you probably should splurge on.
Yeah. And you're going to know.
Where it makes sense.
Yeah. You're going to know what makes you happy.
Yeah.
And the flip is what frustrates you.
Yeah.
As you live in the house and you go, I hate this door. It's always just in my way. Okay, well, maybe it needs to be a doorway.
Well, and you would
maybe
know
it needs to be a pocket door, right?
You wouldn't know that if you remodeled right away. It's just like first-time home buyers who are like, I have to have a fireplace, when they don't know that they even use a fireplace.
Yeah.
After you've lived there a couple of years, you might be like, oh, I really don't need that.
Yeah.
So you recommend waiting a little bit before.
Knowing the house, right? And there's going to be times where you just have to do it, right? You need to remodel quickly, and that's understandable, and you can work with it. But make your decisions, give your decisions the time they need to be right, because it's an expensive thing to make a mistake on. Right. It's an expensive thing to rush or to not give enough thought and attention to. And a good design build company is going to walk you through that process, and they're going to be able to show you computer renderings and help you walk through the space digitally. That'll help if you're in that situation where you really have to push it a little faster than you might ideally do. And there's ways to get around it, but give it all the thought it deserves.
Yeah.
And all the
great
decision making. Yeah.
Great advice. In the 90s and early 2000s, I was an HGTV hound. Mm-hmm. On the weekends, I'd put it on. I would watch Trading Spaces, Decorating Sense, all those shows that nobody watches anymore. But I don't know if you remember Decorating Sense with Joan Steffen. Mm-hmm. She had a $500 limit for decorating, and she did some tremendously awful things. But now that I look at it, it's entertaining. At the time, it was like, wow. But of those terrible ideas, are there trends that you see that maybe people should avoid, or that right now that homeowners maybe should approach with a little bit of caution?
Well, I will say I love HGTV for a lot of reasons. I think it inspires homeowners.
Absolutely.
And it helps them realize that the home they have isn't the home they're stuck with, right? That you can make significant changes. Not everybody can visualize that right off the bat. Right. And so TV shows like that really help broaden people's minds and their ideas to what's possible. So I appreciate that greatly. I think where I see the most concern is sort of a homogenization of all design, because we have the internet, because we have HGTV and YouTube. Trends that used to hit and roll and last for 10 or 15 years happen in just a couple of years now. It takes no time at all for it to move all the way across the country. And suddenly everybody wants everything gray.
Right. Or the white kitchen.
Or suddenly everybody wants barn doors.
Yeah.
Or suddenly everybody wants open shelving, right? And designers get excited by this too. Don't get me wrong. We see something, we're like, oh, that's beautiful, right? But that doesn't mean it has to be everywhere and that it's appropriate in every application. And so when a trend excites you, I like to put it through its paces a little bit. Does it make sense for the architecture of your home? Because presumably you bought that house because you like the vintage, you like the general style. Does it fit? Does it fit your lifestyle? Can you live with this the way it is? Is it a superficial thing that could be changed? If somebody picks a trendy pendant light, no harm, no foul.
Right, that's an easy one.
You get an electrician back out there in 5 years, and he'll swap that out with another trendy pendant light. You're good to go.
But if you put flooring in that is super colorful, impactful, that's a real tough one to get out of.
Right.
If in 2 years you hate it.
If you hate it in 2 years. And does it fit with an aesthetic that's reliable to you already? If you're a vibrant, colorful person by nature, and all of a sudden these, Scandi designs with the blonde wood and the beige and the white are popular, and you look at it and you're like, oh, that's lovely. I would love this for my whole first floor. And I'm looking at the first floor and I'm like, I see 10 colors in this living room alone. Are you getting all new stuff? Because the way you live here is not going to, you're not going to take all this furniture and art and everything and put it in this space and have it look like this magazine you're showing me. So can you live with it in your life? Family, kids, dogs, busy household, and they're showing me minimalist.
Right.
Can you live like this? It's lovely in a
the
photograph.
picture, right.
I appreciate it in a photograph. But I know that within a few weeks of me having that space, I'd be putting some stuff out and I'd have another couple plants. And then before you know it, there's this.
It's not scanty clean anymore.
It's not going to stay that way.
Yeah.
Not for me. That's not how I live.
Yeah.
And so I think, does it suit the house? Does it suit your style? Is it an expensive thing to change later? Anything that's trendy has to go through those 3 checkpoints first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great advice. Didn't get the magazine at home? No problem. You can read it for free by signing up for our digital issues. Just head to the link in the show notes. And hey, if you're just listening to this episode, did you know you can watch it too? Catch the full video on YouTube, link below. So if I've decided to remodel, right? I've decided I'm going to go down this path. So what's the one step that homeowners often underestimate? And how can they better prepare for like a smooth, less stressful process?
I think there's 2 points that they greatly underestimate. And maybe I'm even going to add in a third. The first thing they underestimate is how long it takes to get from you telling me I want to remodel my blank to us having a full set of drawings, a full set of material selections, a full set of project specifications written out, and a contract to present to you. I think that a lot of homeowners come in thinking, well, I saw it on HGTV, they met with them and 15 minutes later they had
a whole
thing,
plan.
Right? We need to get you involved with this process. We need to download from you. You have decisions to make. We have shopping trips to take with you or without you, whether you're coming with us or not. That has to happen. We've got to collect pricing. We've got to investigate, the structure and the mechanicals and do all of these things. If we're going to do a really good job for you when the construction actually starts, we've got weeks or months of work to do before I can even put a contract in front of you to sign. And so that phase surprises people a lot when we tell them that at the beginning. This is how long this is going to take.
Well, and we live in such a culture where everything is a quick hit.
Yeah.
Right? It makes perfect sense why we would think that.
Yeah.
But your time frame is more like a couple weeks to a couple months, depending on the size of the project.
A few weeks to a few months. And some clients, and we don't rush a client through it. So if a client needs more time, if they're indecisive or whatever, if they don't have a timeline deadline, if they're not saying this has to be done by this date because mom's moving in with me and I got to have a place for her to stay. If there's no deadline there, then we're talking about, well, what would you like to see? And we try to guide them and say, well, if you want to hit that date, we got to be here. Yeah. If that's not in play, then it's okay, well, let's move at the pace that is comfortable for everybody. And you want to think through these decisions. Some clients, I had one client take 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Before we got her to contract. So it really is a time-consuming process. The second thing people underestimate is how much they have to pack up and move out. Particularly in a kitchen. Kitchen's probably the worst.
Right. You don't realize how much stuff you have until you have to move it.
You totally underestimate how many things are in all those cabinets. And that kitchen has to be emptied, right? And then not only do you have to take it out of the kitchen, you got to put it somewhere.
Yeah,
so your basement fills up, or the garage fills up, or the spare bedroom fills up, or the dining room, whatever. So people underestimate that packing time, what it takes for them to empty everything out.
And maybe also making arrangements for how you are going to have a working kitchen while this, because that could be months, right? Depending on the level of remodeling.
Yes, and we do talk about that. Do you need a temporary kitchen, or are you moving out? Or how do you want to handle this? And we talk about it. And for some people, it's so daunting when we start talking about it. We have professional organizers we recommend. It's like, hey, they'll come in, they'll pack it up for you. They'll help you filter what you don't need anymore. And then when the remodel's done, they'll come, they'll unpack it, help you decide where everything goes and do all of that. So it can be an overwhelming process that people don't anticipate.
I anticipate.
And then I would say that the patience it takes to live through it.
Yeah.
It's more stressful than you think. If clients are campers, that's a good analogy. Yeah. You be prepared to camp in your own home
Right.
if you're going to continue to live here, because things are going to be out of sorts, out of place. You're going to be bobbing and weaving trying to get things done because this whole section of your house is off limits.
Do you find that a lot of your clients just move out for a short period, if they can?
If they can.
Not everyone has that luxury. Otherwise, you might be upstairs while the downstairs is being remodeled, and then downstairs when the upstairs,
You're in the basement, and then you're here, and then you're there.
Yeah.
So, it's definitely less stressful for the homeowners and for us if they have the resources to move out. We've had some instances where luckily there was maybe parents who lived in town who winter in the South, and we could stage the project to happen when they're out of the house and they could move in and stay there. But a lot of our homeowners live through it and stay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have another question for you, and it is around making sure that your remodel reflects your lifestyle. We talked a little bit about it earlier.
Yeah.
But, we see beautiful pictures of wine bistros and outdoor spaces. And how do we make sure that the remodel truly reflects your lifestyle? And how do you really get to people to make sure that they're going to be happy with the end result?
Yeah. Part of it is giving them the tools to visualize what it's going to be like. So that's helpful. But usually the questions we're asking are, what are your pain points? And what do you love that you want more of? When a client's walking you through on that early visit, and they're like, I love these built-ins. This sweet little Worthington house, it has these little built-ins. I love this. I wish it was bigger. Okay. Tuck that away.
Yeah, we can do that.
We can do that. We can add some more of those in this addition and give you more storage. Or I hate, we're trying to come in. I've got myself, I've got my kid, the dog's trying to squeeze past me. There's no place right here. We can't put everything always ends up on the floor because the kids just drop everything as soon as they walk in the door, and you're thinking, mudroom, right?
Right.
So the pain points that clients have will point you towards what's going to give them a better quality of life after. The things that they love and wish they had more of, or the elements that they've seen as like, oh, my neighbor has this, and the people across the street have this, but somebody took it out of this house. Okay, we can work with that. So pain points and what you love that you're missing generally will tell you what's going to resonate with them and help them really enjoy this space. And also when people say, well, I'm thinking of this or I'm thinking of that, to ask them why. Why do you want that? And to say, well, my brother has one and he likes it. Well, you're not your brother.
Right.
So what about that makes it valuable to you? Because I could spend a bunch of your money and give you that thing, and then maybe you never use it. Your fireplace analogy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all these all these houses on the street have a fireplace and we don't have a fireplace. Okay, well, we could do one. Here's the investment. And where are we going to put it that doesn't interfere with furniture or traffic flow? Because that's probably why it never got one to begin with. What are you willing to give up to get this thing that you don't have now and you're not missing?
Yeah.
If you're only doing it because you think it should be there or because people say you should have, that's sort of the bathtub argument in a master suite.
So
they say you need a bathtub for resale. When's the last time you took a bath?
Right. Right.
And if the answer is I was a child, well, then maybe what we need for you is a really big, sexy shower.
Right. Right.
Because they don't live here. You do.
I love that there's a whole psychology to the conversation when you're working with a company like J.S. Brown. As opposed to going in and saying, I want this done, and this done. You're helping to draw out, right, what is really going to work for their lifestyle.
Right.
As opposed to just being the order taker. And there's a lot of psychology behind that. What questions do you ask, right, to be able to pull that out of people? I love that.
Well, and sometimes you're asking, and there's more than one decision maker in a lot of these projects. And maybe the couple don't agree with each other on what the priorities for the project are. And if you're lucky, the budget and the space allows you to do both.
Yeah.
But
compromising can be tough.
Compromising can be tough, especially when they have different tastes, different styles, different priorities. we completed a project about, I guess it's been about a year ago now, and it was lovely. Past clients, we've worked with them multiple times, but they each had their wish list. He wanted his bourbon bar and a big covered outdoor space where he could grill out all year and not have to worry about being in the rain or the snow or whatever. And she wanted a new kitchen and a mud entry. And so the whole designing was the back and forth of, well, if I make the addition bigger, then the covered patio is less. And if the covered patio gets this expensive, then I can't do that. And if we do this for the kitchen, then the bourbon bar gets too small.
So you become the arbitrator as well.
I try to not be the arbitrator because I'm not a marriage counselor. But what I try to do is present the pros and cons of both.
Yeah.
And try to get as much of both as we can. So, because you do want both of them to be happy. They both live here. And give them the information they need so that they can make good decisions for their budgets. And every once in a while, you step out of the room so they can have a discussion.
Right. So they can stay together.
Yeah.
I totally get that. This has been so wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely.
I do want to remind all of our listeners that we have these 2 downloads that are available to you. Just check the show notes. We'll have the links there. And the first 5 responders are going to be able to have a 30-minute consult with the one and only Monica Lewis. So that is very exciting.
I'm really excited to listen to some of your, or to speak with some of your listeners. That's going to be fantastic.
I think so too. You're so good at what you do. I just have really enjoyed the friendship, and I just think the world of you, Monica. So thank you so much. And again, we will see you next time on Inside Northwest Columbus.
Boxland Media. Think big.